My name is Fraser.
My name is Mark.
And we are the hosts of the geekiest show alive. To the outside world, we're ordinary geeks.
But in the Fab International Studios, we talk comics and find other geeks just like us. This is Geek of the Week.
It's trade.
Down. You know what? Depending on how this gets edited, it's either just going to be like the good, the bad, and the ugly theme, and then us going.
It probably won't have that. We're doing the best we can, so we've at least got some content this week rather than taking our ball home and having a grump.
Exactly. And with that in mind, trade off.
It is trade off.
This is a section of the show where me and Mark, basically sort of like a book club, give each other a trade.
We do.
We take turns each week, and we did this basically because Mark and I have different tastes when it comes to comic books, or at least we did when we started this show. They're sort of melding into one in a way.
Little.
And sort of, we're being
not completely.
We're being a bit more. I think we're just a bit more open with the comics we take in, and it is that thing of like, you know, we're just like, oh well, if Mark recommends it, he's been recommending good stuff, and this is more his sort of genre. Like Mark's into his sort of like sci-fi, horror. I'm a big fraidy cat, so sometimes it's a bit difficult for me, and I'm very childlike. Mark's more adult in that way, so it's sort of nice that we are. It's a balance, isn't it? Really,
yeah. Fraser likes his superheroes, and there ain't nothing wrong with that.
Exactly, we sort of get a nice little balance there, and get to read books that we might not necessarily would have done ourselves. And this week, it was my turn to give Mark a book, and I gave Mark Death of Superman by DC.
So Death of Superman was 90s, and it was around the time I was reading comic books.
Yeah.
However, I just read Marvel. I never touched anything else at the time.
So you didn't get the book and get the Superman armband and do that full jazz?
No, but I did read The Death of Superman.
Did you didn't get the armband?
Because it was such an iconic thing, because it was the biggest thing in comics that year.
Yeah.
That maybe even that decade. I did read it at the time. And I remember, the only thing I remembered going back to it, because this is 20 years old now, roughly. And going back to the only thing I remember was I thought it was the last panel. It wasn't. It was like this second or third to last, where they both punched each other at the same time.
Oh yeah, it's pretty epic.
And I remember that vividly, and then them falling apart and the fight being over because they not double knockout, double killed each other.
Yeah.
And I didn't remember any of the rest of it, so I knew. Funny enough, I knew what was coming.
The flag with
I knew what was coming.
You'd hope, wouldn't you, with a title like that?
I knew what was coming, but and well, wasn't the Justice League weird?
Well, this is the thing I wanted to talk about, because we said about the 90s, and like the 90s was a weird time, because this is very much almost D-list listers on the Justice League. This was a time where they were using the name of the Justice League to put all the unsellables as a team, and like Marvel sort of did it with the Avengers as well. Their team up books were just like, oh, throw them on there, throw them. But Booster Gold is on there, so I was very happy about that.
But it was a pre-thingy happening Booster Gold
stuff. Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
he didn't really. And he got a bit of a kicking, really, didn't he?
He did get a kicking. He didn't get the biggest kicking, but
during this time as well, from memory, I'm pretty sure Batman was missing and people thought he was dead. Flash was nowhere to be seen. He was probably in a crisis somewhere.
Guy Gardner was an odd character.
Guy Gardner was the Green Lantern at the time, so it was a very odd Justice League team. And then they kill Superman, who sort of like felt like the foundation, the one holding it together. It was bizarre.
Bloodwind? I've never heard of Bloodwind.
Oh yeah.
I looked him up and I was disappointed by the twist.
Probably stuck in the 90s there.
The twist was dismal.
Yeah.
It made no sense, and the Wikipedia on Bloodwind, I wish I hadn't bothered. And that's a shame, because my initial response was, I wonder what they did with this. And then when I read what they did with this, I was like, that was rubbish.
No. Wasted.
Very first 3 pages was punch, punch, punch with the claws coming out, and it was super effective. It felt really kind of...
The way they set up Doomsday is incredible in this, because it's literally from the beginning, and you just know, oh, this is trouble.
It felt very like almost cinematic. Like it felt like a concept that shouldn't have worked on a comic book would have worked better in a film, but it did work really well.
Isn't it ironic as well that this feels more cinematic and it would work better as a film, but yet in the film that they adapt this sort of
don't talk about that film.
In Batman vs Superman, it doesn't feel as cinematic as it does in the comic.
That film was that part of that film was rushed and desperately disappointing,
because it would have been perfect. So the way if they set up Doomsday like they did in this book, and then the death was...
I've said this 100 times before. That film should have been Batman vs Superman rather than Batman vs Superman with half an hour of rushed
Wonder
Doomsday.
Woman, well, it was all of them
tacked onto the end.
Because it was
rubbish.
It was Batman v Superman. It was also The Dark Knight Returns. It was also Death of Superman. It was also
it was just
Wonder Woman and like a Trinity film, and it was too many films in one, to be honest.
Frustrating, because if they'd have split that into 2, maybe 3 films, it would have been great.
There was a thing where they were going to do part 1 and part 2 with Batman vs Superman, and it would have been funny if it was like Batman vs Superman, now Superman vs Batman, changed it over. Or if it was called maybe Batman and Superman.
But
Dawn of Justice, because they did have that. So the longest time it was Batman v Superman, I was like, ooh, and then it was Batman v Superman semicolon.
But a comic book this good deserved better than what Batman vs Superman did.
And there's an animated film out about it, so that we could definitely check that out at some point, because that definitely fits.
Why not?
The animated ones of these well-known, stories are great, because it's literally ripped from the pages, because you can do it. It lends itself more to an adaptation, I think, animation, because you can just take it from panel to screen. But sorry, I'll let you carry on with your thoughts.
That was it with the first part, but the brutality with Beetle and the absolute mauling he took, it was quite shocking, actually. When you think this is comic books for kids, and a relatively popular character was absolutely ruined. Did he recover from that?
See, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff with Blue Beetle and Booster Girl. They've got a strong bromance going, and obviously it's sort of highlighted in this. He does sort of come back from it, but he didn't last too long, and it takes its toll on Booster, and Booster actually goes back in time to try and save him and stuff like that. But there was a lot in here that's... The Justice League was just destroyed, but to be fair, it was a D-list, C-list Justice League. It would be interesting to see how a Batman and a Flash and
Wonder Woman.
Guy Gardner was an alright Green Lantern, but like a Hal Jordan Green Lantern would have dealt with Doomsday, because Superman had got decimated by him, but who knows, if he had a whole team with him, an A-list team, it might have been a bit different. He maybe wouldn't have died, but...
And what I liked about it was like a constant fight and a constant journey, which could have been dull, could have been bland, could have been overdone, like over-egged. But my goodness, it was just so well done. It was it worked
kept
perfectly.
You on the edge in it as well, and like, because I think because they kept going to this fight, and obviously with the title, Superman's dying, so you were always on edge, like, oh, is that going to be it? Is that the final blow? Is Doomsday going to take? Because you don't know that Doomsday is going to die with Superman until the end. Like, it's never sort of like, it's not death of Superman and Doomsday, so you think, if Doomsday kills Superman, what's next? Or that. And it is that, and it's the determinate. I think it's a great last sort of, if this was the last story of Superman and he did actually die, it would have been a great last story, because it was that determination to actually beat doomsday.
And that's what the story was about.
Yeah.
It was about a good man's determination to...
I'm willing to die to save the world. Like,
and then the last comic, the last episode, every single page was a full page spread.
It was an epic one.
And what a concept.
It was
As part of a graphic novel, it worked wonderfully. But I just imagine picking up that one comic book. You open it up, and it is just these huge concept art with just the very last part of this
almost
longer
like an art
story.
book, innit? Like, art of the movie or something like that.
It was hugely impactful, and I was like,
Gorgeous.
oh wow. And yeah, you're right, the art was great, and it was 90s, and the art wasn't all that great in the 90s normally, but it was it was great. One thing that I wanted to ask you, Jimmy Olsen taking photos at the end, that's his mate, and it felt a little bit callous to me.
Yeah. I mean, it is his job as well.
Was it supposed to be callous? Was it supposed to be... You'd have thought he'd have had a cry rather than tried to make some money out of it.
I guess it's sort of... He's less like Peter Parker, where he's like, working on, I've got to take I'm taking these photos to get cash. It is more like one of the heads at the Daily Bugle probably would have told him to, no, this is your job, take a photo. He's not freelance. He's employed to take photos. So I guess it is one of them. But yeah, you would think he'd take a moment, but it might have been another one of them where he might have had to keep face, because he would know Clark Kent, and people would
it just rang.
I do get that. Yeah,
it felt wrong, and it felt wrong.
I get that. No, I get that.
Not so wrong that it ruined it, but the fact that I spotted it, I think, soured it a little bit.
Maybe not wrong from a story point of view, but wrong from a character point of view. Could have been maybe, and it could have been a sinister thing for the character. But surprisingly, I didn't keep reading in the 90s.
Yeah,
don't think I was alive. Oh, if I was alive, I wasn't able to read.
No, that's
I've
true.
only recently been able to read those, so that's not really
that's lies.
But what did you think of, there was a little family, wasn't there? The family side story.
The family side story.
That if it was literally, it was nothing. It was probably like a hit and miss, but it was like they were travelling away.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, that. It wasn't something that stuck out to me as important. It wasn't something that stuck out to me as something to take home about it. It
just sort of, I think it showed the impact of the superheroes with the regs, which was nice. I sort of liked, and it was something they did nice in Justice League as well, the film. So it just something nice to thought. I thought it was a nice little side bit. There's a big thing in there's a Spider-Man book, and it's known as Move the Car, George, and they take it aside, like a sort of tangent away from the Spider-Man story, and focus on this two old couple, one of them called George, and moving the car. And it was
brilliant.
It just reminded me of that, and it was I thought it was nice, because we did have those action beats, and then it was
I felt like
more of the world impact
for this book. I felt like it was something that I experienced as a kid, and I feel like I enjoyed it, but I was worried that like anything that I read from the 90s, particularly something that I remember as enjoying, I'm always concerned about...
Oh, in retrospect.
Well, I call it the Thundercats effect, because I rewatched Thundercats when I was in my mid-30s, having adored it as a kid. It's rubbish.
Yeah.
It's desperately disappointing. It does not hold up whatsoever.
It's sometimes hard to accept that or take away your nostalgia.
And that's the thing, and I was concerned that Death of Superman might have the Thundercats effect and might be a bit 90s cheese, and it wasn't.
I think that's why it's one of the stories that stuck around and sort of stayed in the pop culture reigns, and why it's been adapted in films, animated, and major releases. Because Can't stop it now.
No.
But yeah, I think that's why it stuck around. Like there are stories from the 90s that maybe again you might have nostalgia for, but probably won't.
Thunderstruck.
But yeah, the Clone Saga.
Do you know? I remember enjoying the Clone Saga. Was it not? Is it not regarded as
not? You know what? We might have to. We could put that on Twitter.
the Jackal,
We could do it. Yeah, we could.
Scarlet Spider,
We could
and
do
all that?
He's got a recent series. He's got a series as well. Well, I don't know. I stopped putting it on my poll, so probably
Ben Reilly.
I haven't started reading it. Yeah, and Kane as well. But yeah, what beautiful! Imagine reading this Justice League in the 90s. You'd be a bit disappointed, wouldn't you? Especially after. Do you remember we did? Oh,
It's almost a shame that it was the NAF Justice League.
Yeah.
For such an important story.
Because it is that thing of like people. Because people, it's that thing of the stories where people are, oh, you have to read this, or if you want to get into comics, this is a great story to read or whatever. And this one, it seems like people do suggest it, and you go, wait, that's the Justice League team? And there's characters that like I know none of these characters. Where's Batman? Where's Thingy? And so it is weird that, and it's almost tied to the 90s now, I think, because of that.
Yep. I'd agree with that.
But also, Booster Gold's awesome, and if you read Death of Superman and go, who's that blonde weirdo? Definitely be on the lookout for Booster Gold. Great series you never heard of. He's so good. We need to put Booster Gold on trade off. I think that needs.
Yeah, you can stick that on trade off.
Do a whole load of Booster Gold. I'm just gonna Booster Gold and Spider and just like, you know what? I'm just gonna go into the stereotype that people think I am.
Well, that is
That is me. This is me. But yeah, that was. Oh, sorry. Any final thoughts before we?
No, just
think of the fellow geeks.
No, just pleased that it was good, because I kind of felt like it needed to be.
Yeah. For your sanity.
Yeah.
Just like, was there anything good from the 90s? I like to hope I was something good that came out of the 90s, but I doubt myself sometimes. But we want to know on that dark note, we want to know your fellow geeky thoughts. If you have checked out this book before, if you've seen the Justice League film and want to check this out, definitely check it out. It's much better on comic than thing. If you've seen the animated film, definitely lives up. Read the book as well behind it, and we want to know your thoughts on it. And if you've not, maybe if you've not checked it out yet, did our thoughts help you, guide you to want to read it? We've got a Facebook discussion group, we've got a Twitter, and on YouTube we've got a comment section below the vid. So yeah, that's trade off for this week.
To listen to Geek of the Week, be sure to tune in next week. Same geek time, same geek channel.
And if you want to follow us on social media, it's at GOTW Radio on Twitter. Search for Geek of the Week Radio Show on Facebook. And to listen again, it's www.mixcloud.com/Geek of the Week Radio Show.